While presenting online uses some of the same skills as presenting in person, there are some challenges that can arise. In this video, we'll go over how to present a presentation online, including how to prepare for the presentation, how to start the meeting, tips for screen sharing, and how to give a successful online presentation. Preparing for the presentation. Just as you would for an in-person presentation, you need to practice your presentation before the actual meeting day. Practice running through your presentation using the meeting software you're going to use, for example, Zoom, so that you're comfortable with using the presentation software and the meeting software on the day of your presentation. Make sure to time your presentation so you know you're staying within the time guidelines. Keep in mind that some things take a little longer in an online setting. For example, during questions, you'll need to wait for your audience to unmute their mics before speaking. Come to your presentation looking professional. Just because the presentation is online does not mean you should dress differently than you would for a face-to-face presentation. Starting the meeting. Take some time at the beginning of your presentation to set some guidelines for your audience to help your presentation run smoothly and to reduce the number of distractions. Give your participants instructions for how you would like them to interact with you during the presentation. Do you want your audience to wait until the end of the presentation to ask questions, or can they ask questions throughout the presentation? Ask participants to mute their mics to avoid any noisy interruptions. If you're the host of a meeting in Zoom, you have the ability to mute participants who have forgotten to mute themselves. Just hover over their image and click mute. When people do ask questions, how are you going to avoid everyone talking over one another? There are two useful tools in Zoom to help with this: the raise hand feature and the chat tool. Decide which tool you're going to use and give your audience instructions on how to use the tool. If you instruct users to use the chat for questions, make sure you monitor the chat. Sharing your screen. When you present online, you'll be sharing your computer screen with others in the meeting. Use these tips to ensure you can do this step quickly. Have your presentation already open and on the slide you're going to start on before the meeting begins. If there are any other supporting materials you're going to share during the meeting, have these open as well. Close all other applications that you do not want to share with meeting participants so you don't accidentally share any private information. Remember to practice sharing your screen before the presentation day. To share your screen in Zoom, click Share Screen from the bottom menu. Choose the presentation you wish to share and click Share. The meeting participants will now see your presentation. Giving the presentation. Giving an online presentation uses many of the same skills you would use when giving a face-to-face presentation. However, it can be harder to keep the attention of your audience in an online meeting, so there are a few important guidelines to remember. If possible, put your presentation on presentation mode so that your audience sees the slides as full screen, and they don't see your speaker notes or the next slides. You'll need a second monitor, a large enough monitor to split the screen, or a printed copy of your speaker notes to do this, as you won't be able to see your notes in presentation mode either. When presenting online, it may be tempting to read your slides or read a prepared script. You want to avoid reading, as your presentation will be less engaging. When you share your screen, remember your video will still be visible to your audience, so you still need to be aware of what you're doing. To keep the audience engaged, try to look at your webcam and avoid looking down at notes or another screen. If you're using Zoom, you can use the annotation tools if you want to emphasize or add something to your slides. When you share your screen, your audience can see your mouse and anything you do on screen, so be careful you're not being distracting by moving your mouse around. When you've concluded the presentation, make sure you stop sharing so that you don't accidentally share anything with your audience that you don't want to share. For more information on presentation skills, you can visit the Presentation Skills module.